In a few moments, I'll be set up over here for a yoga class. You're welcome to come back and watch it on my page at any time. And it's going to be a gentle seated practice with basically some really nice stretches, especially if you work all day or you're seated in a chair. It can feel super nice if you've got the time. So feel free to join me at any time. Otherwise, give me a few seconds while I get myself all set up with all the different streaming channels that I use. And I'll be with you very shortly. Moving the Streamlabs up to my Apple TV so that I can tell that I'm chatting with you. Turning on TikTok. And turning on Instagram. Alrighty, good morning everybody and welcome to a gentle yoga practice this morning, seated on our mats. I've got a bolster next to me ready to go, so if you could grab a pillow, that could be useful. I like a nice big cushion, and make your way into your comfortable seat with a couple of blocks beside you. We might use those as well. And take a moment, once you've arrived in your comfortable seat, to close down your eyes and begin to focus on your breath in and out through the nose for a few cycles. Recognize the quality of the inhale, the volume of the inhale, and how there's a lengthening with that inhale along the spine and the back body. And then when we take the exhale breath, you feel into the letting go nature of that breath, the releasing breath. And so take your awareness now from the heart space and radiate it outwards through your body. Notice where there might be areas that feel a little tired, a little resistant this morning. Or perhaps there's areas that feel awakening, ready to move. And encourage the harmonization of those experiences in your body, so that you might move around the world today with a more balanced approach. And just let yourself draw your awareness from the fabric of your skin through the contours of your muscles and the web of your nerves. And explore the internal universe that exists within. And from that internal universe, recognize how the universe around you also provides the nourishment. The breath drawn in without any awareness, and exits the body without any awareness. Automatic. The difference is when we focus on the breath, we will recognize the quality of the breath and the nature of the breath to calm the body and calm the nervous system. Bring your hands to your heart space, draw your chin towards your chest, and take a moment here to acknowledge yourself. Thank yourself for carving out a few moments in your day to practice some movement and coordinate your body and your breath. And we'll begin this morning with an Om. Inhale through the nose. And sigh out the mouth. Begin to rub your hands together and creating lots of warmth there. And then place the hands over the eyes. They absorb that nourishment of the warmth from the hands. And then begin to peel your hands away from your eyes as you blink open the eyes and arrive in your space. And we'll begin by finding our way into an extended child's pose. So bring your big toes to touch at the back of your mat. And it'll be a longer hold today, and that's why I've invited you to bring yourself with a bolster or a big cushion from your house. Place it out in front of you, approximately where the knees divide and the big toes come to touch. You sit the hips back towards the heels. Sit in an upright position, big breath in, and then start to walk the hands, slide them away from you as you lower the chest down onto the bolster. I'm going to place my right ear on the mat so that the microphone doesn't get all muffled, and I'm looking to the left. But you could do this at home with the forehead on the bolster or perhaps one ear on the bolster and just switch it in, let's say, about 90 seconds time. So today's class is all about just rest and digest. And just easing into the subtle body, softening your shoulders, maybe even closing your eyes and just letting yourself give into the field of gravity. There's no need to be constrictive with your breath. Just let it feel natural. If it's slightly more abundant for you to let the breath come out the mouth on the exhale, that could feel really nourishing too. These slower classes where you take longer in the particular postures, they have their own level of challenge. Because the encouragement here is to find some stillness and let the movement be the internal universe, the movement of your prana, the flow of the electricity in the nervous system, the gentle pulsing of the blood in the veins and the arteries, and the umbrella-like effect of the diaphragm in the chest, helping with the respiratory system, creating a beautiful metronome here that allows just that gorgeous rest and digest response to unfold in the body, the softening. If you've been like me and had your head turned in one direction, let's take it in the other direction now. But if you've had your forehead on the mat and that continues to serve you, just stay there. I like to think about child's pose as an opportunity to drop away that thinking body and allow yourself just to be nurtured by a childlike expression. We have all of the conditioning and the expectations placed on us off the mat by society, by relationships, by work, by all of the things. But here, this pose just offers an opportunity just to drop into that childlike mind. permission is granted. Just let yourself soften, tummy feels soft. The compression between the calves and the backs of your thighs. Just giving yourself a moment where the blood might not flow so freely. And in that, the opportunity to wait for a little bit of flow to return once we move out of this pose in a few more moments. And think of today's class as a little tune-up, allowing you to just warm up the hips, the thighs. Maybe if you're going to sit all day for your work, could feel super nice. Now, if you have had your head turned in the opposite direction, let's come back to center, elevating the head off your prop or your bolster out in front of you. And let's make our way into tabletop all fours. So slide your bolster forward and then do a 90-degree angle with it and allow it to run parallel with the short edge of your mat up the top there. And then as you shift up into tabletop, just take a moment to let the flow of the blood return, especially through the legs that had a bit of compression there. Pressing down through the tops of your feet and the toenails, and then starting to move naturally through cow and cat pose. Don't overthink it. In fact, the encouragement here is to close your eyes and just let this be natural movement. We think of the spine like that beautiful communication channel. You could also think of it like an elevator in a building. All the different locations of the tissues and the discs. We could think of them like floors. And at each point there's this exit of information and electricity, and there's also the return of information and electricity, and within that we could think of it like that beautiful communication channel, providing the body with awareness, sensation, touch, feeling, temperature, all of the senses of the body. Moving again, just naturally, just playfully, just organically. Change the orientation of your hands, get funky in your wrists. Once more, as a reminder that if you are going to type all day, this could be a good opportunity just to stretch through the forearms and the wrists where you get a little sticky because of that repetitive movement. Even tucking your toes behind you and sending some weight back towards the heels can just be really nice. I get along the pads of the feet. Still recovering from my broken toe, so I'm just taking the weight back with a sense of awareness through that little toe that's a little sore still. And then as you come back to your center, let's take ourselves into normal orientation of the hands. One more cow and cat here. And then with that bolster out in front of you, I just slid it away further so I had room. I'm going to bring it closer back towards me so I can find a puppy pose where we've got this opportunity to lower the elbows down onto the bolster, interlacing the fingers, and then letting the chest dive down and the head lower between the arms. And perhaps you can take the interlaced fingers behind the back of your head. And you can just start to drop into the triceps and the heart space. Just let this pose, you can call it puppy, or if you've got the elevated elbows like me, it's sort of moving into a pose that they call praying mantis. It's not quite the setup, but nonetheless it does look a little like that. Just giving yourself this opportunity to hydrate all the tissues along the upper back and around the shoulders. a nice little spot just to recognize the breath here, just how it's coming and going in this rather unusual position for the body. Could you bring some awareness to the tops of your feet? Maybe feel through the toenails. Feel into the hollowness of your armpits and all of the ropey tissues that come together around the shoulder joint. Because if you're anything like me and a vast majority of people in this world, shoulders are an area of vulnerability, of stress and fatigue, of a lot of discomfort, as is the neck, which has to hold up the weight of the head against the forces of gravity. Starting to arrive back in your body and your breath as you're shifting here onto your forearms. If you've got a bolster underneath you, this will feel normal, but if not, just coming forward to a Sphinx pose. So shift forward, find the lowest ribs and just let that arrive on your bolster. And then place your forearms down on the mat in front of the bolster. And with that little bit of support underneath the chest, it feels a little bit more welcoming. And now just take a moment now to let the fingers spread wide, the palms ground down, and I make a particular effort to widen the feet at the back of the mat. So the tops of the feet press down, and there's width there. About the edges of the mat I can feel with my toes. Holding the head up here can get a little tiring. But shall we just do it for maybe 20 breaths? And then if a little bit of movement is wished for or stillness is more your jam, then we'll just find that in a few moments' time. I like how there's the reciprocity of the torso against the bolster, giving my breath this kind of massage effect to the front of the chest and the organs of the abdomen. I've been struggling this week with some severe and acute neck pain as a result of my virus I had called shingles. And it's been about a week or so now, and I think I probably had the early stages longer before this. And today they are little painful 50-cent piece size rashes on your torso, and it's extraordinary to think how much discomfort that can cause. And apparently the virus gets into your nervous system and the nerves, and it's been in my neck, and if you're like me, that's one area that just creates such a mood destroyer, such a heaviness when the neck is sore, isn't it? It's difficult to be positive when you can barely turn to see what's going on, or look up to enjoy the sun, or look down to see where you're going. And from this position, let's stay still if that is still serving you, or for me, I just want to draw the chin towards the chest ever so slowly. And then ever so slowly lift it back up. Just getting a little bit of movement in the head and the neck. It feels nice. Lift the left arm and run it parallel or slightly at an angle towards the top edge of your mat. And peek over your right shoulder as you look back. Bend the right knee and reach the right hand back. See if you can catch the foot behind you and draw the heel in towards the buttock as best you can. And take a nice little quad stretch here with a beautiful support of the bolster underneath your chest. Feeling super aware of your own body. So for your flexibility, maybe the butt and the heel don't come to touch. Maybe it's more up here. You know, that's entirely up to you. Just a little stretch here, so just giving ourselves a few moments in the quad. See if you can let that frontal hip just smooth out a little more. And then releasing that expression, and we'll take it over the other side. So return the right arm back in front of you. It can either be parallel or at an angle to the front edge of the mat. Peek over left shoulder, reach back, look back, and see if we can catch the foot behind you. Draw the heel in, and wow, this side is so much tighter. Side's different. For some of you that practice with me regularly, you know that I talk a lot about how my left side is completely different. I have some major imbalances in my body. And I generally seem to constantly injure my left side. Well, constantly was the wrong word. I generally seem to injure my left side. So this is the side that I broke that second toe, and I fell off my bike a couple of times riding to work in Melbourne and did nothing about it, of course. I had a rotator cuff injury in my shoulder. I actually did something about that, but it's still kind of there because I'm very right dominant. I write with my right hand. I generally step off to start my walking with my right foot. You walk up steps and you always step with your right foot. Like, it's just this narrative that comes from the self-inquiry in our yoga practice. So for me, this side feels much stickier across the front of the thigh. I'm going to hold for another breath. And then as you release the leg, just let it lower back down, placing your hands on your bolster to press us back up into our tabletop position. I'm going to bring the bolster in just a little bit closer. It's not quite underneath our shoulders, but it's forward so the hands can be placed on the bolster. Let's head to half pigeon or sleeping swan. The bolster is there to elevate the pelvis and the hips. This is a proper yoga bolster. If you don't own one of them, you could have a little cushion or a couple of blocks, but I've chosen comfort today. So with the step of my right foot forward, it goes over the top of the bolster, and then I toe heel the foot over to the left. So I'm shimmying the foot, but keeping the knee towards the right. So as it comes over to the left, I then start to come forward with my pelvis and my hips, and I sit the thigh down. And that's when you start to really feel the stretch across the front of the left thigh and hip, and also into the gluteals and deeper tissues of the right thigh and hip. So you could stay in an upright position here, because for me there's a lot of benefit in this. But other people, as you start to come forward, the weight starts to shift forward, and that's when you do start to feel some really profound sensation. So it's up to you. There's this position, leaning forward a little bit. And there's even a little bit of space perhaps to come down onto your forearms. And there's this position. So in these kind of slower classes, we name the poses differently to our active yoga poses. So you would maybe know this as half pigeon. Some people could just call it pigeon. But in their slower classes, we call it sleeping swan, because we want to think more about it being less active and more passive. More of an opportunity to breathe into the sensations, to become aware of where they are in the body, how deep, how subtle. And just giving this the time and the space to stretch, to lengthen, to play with that expression of extension in one part of our body, down that left leg, and then there's this sense of compression in the right side, where we might find the weight of the body is artificially damming the leg with the flow of fluids, which will return soon. So maybe you're starting to feel a little tingly in the toes. Sometimes just a little wiggle of the toes of the right foot can help with that. The area you don't want to feel this with any sort of sharp electric pain is the knee. The knee doesn't need to be made more flexible here. We're looking at this as the targeting of the hip and the thigh, gluteals. We'll stay for another 3 long breaths. And unfortunately, there's no elegant way to get out of this because we will be returning back to our tabletop position. So just think about how you can do that in a way that allows you to arrive back in tabletop. So I use my hands, shift the hips back, and then slide the foot back and come into tabletop. Let's take a moment here in child's pose just to rest and digest and have a moment to notice how that thigh, hip, and leg feels in comparison to the other one. You might recognize that it's got a little bit more freedom, a little bit more warmth. Maybe there's a bit more space in that part of the leg and thigh. And just stay here for 5 breaths while I reorientate myself on my mat so that we can prepare for the final pose before we head on out into the world. So when you're ready, shift back into that tabletop position with the hands on your bolster, just like we set up last time. And this time it'll be our left foot. So from that tabletop position, step your left foot forward. And as you step it forward, you pause and then you toe heel the foot over to the right. So we want the foot going to the right, but the knee stays to the left. And then you start to lunge the pelvis forward and land on that bolster. And there's that upright expression. So feeling free to stay here with that proud chest, lifted torso, taking into the benefits of the pose. And as again, if you've been practicing with me for the past, 30 minutes or so, you would have heard my story about the left side. So I feel this side a lot more. So I'm going to look for some props that can help find stability and allow me to feel into the benefits of the pose as opposed to just feeling into the discomfort. So I want to find elevation in the chest, support with the hands. But for you, if it means you can fold forward here, please do that. You're very welcome to. And that imbalances I've been talking about, when you're walking around with a broken toe and you're hobbling, I shouldn't even say you're walking, hobbling, you're re-channeling the body. You're doing things that are unusual. And as a result, the body looks for ways to adapt. So say 4 weeks or 5 weeks of walking weirdly and oddly hasn't done my pelvis any benefits. And so it's all kind of become a little juicy in this left hip. It's about being able to carve out this kind of time in your day. Thanking yourself for giving yourself this time, this precious time. We often will share from a cup that's not full. It's a bit of an old age expression now, isn't it? But it is so true. Fill yourself with the joy and abundance that exists within you. So enliven that, activate that, and allow it to enrich you, because that's going to create such a beneficial sharing experience for you rather than coming from a place of fatigue and tiredness. One more breath here as you find that nice lift in your chest. But this time we're going to switch it up. We're actually going to get you to sit more onto your left hip And maybe even take your right hand back behind you and see if you can just help lift that thigh and bring the whole leg forward and in front of you. And then we'll arrive in a cross-leg position, whatever that looks like for you. And let's continue just a couple of stretches for the torso before we head on out into the world. So an inhale lifts the arms up, reach up. And then with the exhale breath, take the right hand onto your left knee and the left hand behind you, rotate around. Just take a few moments here to twist through the torso. And then come back to your center, arms up, reach up, lift up. Big breath in, and then take yourself around to the right, left hand on your right knee, right hand behind you. Now just breathe here. And then as you come back to your center, return your hands onto your knees, roll the shoulders up to the ears. And just let yourself sit in a seat with elevated hips for a few moments. And if you have practiced with me for the whole class, how about we return back to where we began by taking that scan of the body, originating it in the heart space and pretending it's like a spinning disc of energy, rotated outwards through your internal universe. And recognize how you feel now in comparison to half an hour ago. Just that little tune up through the hips and the thighs, the shoulders and the neck. Bring your hands to your heart space, draw your chin towards your chest in honor of yourself for showing up and taking the time to practice and carving out these precious moments in your day. Thank yourself with a smile on your face and thank each other for sharing their energy. And what a pleasure it is to be able to share this across all of the world now through this technology and the 21st century. Thumbs to your third eye, chin to chest. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free. May my actions and the actions of yourself allow others to tune into that freedom, and we pass on that like the torch of life with thankfulness and gratitude. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Thanks for your practice this morning. Thanks for all the sharing and the caring. It's very kind of you. Appreciate it. It's been one of those days. Good morning if you're in Australia, about to head out into your day. Good evening if you're somewhere else in the world. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye, everybody on TikTok. Who's my friend that stayed around on Instagram? That's unusual. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. When will I do it again? Missed the beginning. What time have you started? It depends on the classes. Thank you. Is it Saran? I appreciate that. We do all types of different classes every day. It's how I feel when I wake up. Today I'm feeling a little bit so I just wanted something to nourish me. But check out my profile because I schedule the classes out in advance. So there you go. Thanks very much, Bree. Good to see you. I do actually, all of the classes get recorded and they're on YouTube. So feel free to go and jump on YouTube at any time and practice. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you. It's been one of those days today where I just feel ugh. So yeah, that's very nice. Have a wonderful day and I'll catch you again real soon. Bye for now. All right. Who's still there at good day 4329.nm? Well, that's nice. Good day. In Australia, it's G and a D-A-Y like that. Thanks. Thank you. I don't know who you are, but very appreciative. It doesn't give you very much information, Instagram.